buttons and actions. We are going to see now the different actions that the buttons can perform. There are plenty of options, but we are just going to see some now. We can find these buttons in the forms and tasks, but some of them can only be found in tasks. These ones here. We have update division, update the division data, update form, update the form data, change button text, change the button's default name after the execution, cancel, delete the data introduced in the form from the editable fields, obviously, cancel division, delete the data introduced in the division, trigger, hide or shows fields, buttons, divisions, automatic document, it allows you to create automatic documents, delete, deletes the event draft or the family element, link, it allows you to open a link to a responsive form. When a responsive form is created, this button allows you to open the form in this format. And the other way around. Then we have external form, it allows you to open a link, add a web contact to a form, etc. Save, saves the data introduced in the form. Start process or finish, it allows you to finish a task or event. It will make the current flow of the process continue. Scroll bar movement, it allows you to move the scroll bar to the position in the form that you want. If we want the scroll on the top, on the right. Exit, closes the form without saving the changes. Timer, it allows you to start a countdown to perform the following action of the button. And see task recipients, it allows you to see the task recipients, only for employees. And as for the task buttons that can only be used in tasks, we have warning, it allows you to pause the task, execution control, that allows you monitoring the process, and substitute form, it allows us to work with several forms. Let's go now to see a few examples in the teacher process. So if we go to action buttons, we can see we have seen several of them already. So first I'm going to go to the settings button. And this is a button, as we can see, with a link, okay, with the URL of this form, the design page. Before having a look at the buttons, first I want to go here to the other section so we can see a few options. Action buttons, comment log, and document viewer are options we have already seen. We also have external form we are going to see in the next block, but now I just want to see these two, the chronometer and the captcha. So if we go here, sorry, we need to select a division. So we have different options here, the internal name, the shown title. We can also add a description and save in a field that needs to be a decimal type of term. Okay, so as soon as we open the form, the chronometer starts, and once we finish or start the process, the value will be stored in this field that we choose here. Okay, and then we have the captcha option that allows us to, like in execution, to ask for a code to ensure that the one working with the form is a human being and not a robot. Okay, again, it says an element of this type already exists, so we obviously can't have two. Okay, it's here. So let's go back to execution to see how they work. So let's imagine, for example, that I don't fill the captcha field, okay, and I try to start a process. A window will pop out with a message: verify the data of the field captcha. If you want to change the image, click the icon to update it. So as you can see, it's mandatory, so let's add the right thing now here. So T9ALM and start process. Now, a window will pop up informing us of the mandatory fields that need to have a value for the process to start. And in this case, it's date. So let's add a date. and start the process. Okay. So as we can see, the system warns us first about the captcha field being empty, and once it has a value, it will inform us about the mandatory fields that we don't have a value. So we can start the process, okay? The same will happen if we go to these check mandatory fields, okay? So if we click in here, it will tell us again the captcha, and if we add the captcha here, it will tell us that we need to add a date, okay? So if we go to settings now, we can see its configuration. So if we go check mandatory fields, we can see add actions, check mandatory fields. This action doesn't require any configuration. So if we check the start process button configuration, we can see that it works the same way as with the finish one, okay? So we have add actions and we have start process. We can see that we can add a subsequent action, okay? And in this case, we have added show division to show another division called confirmation. So if we go here, we can find confirmation. Okay, so this division will be shown when we click on start process. Confirmation division, teacher process has started, the division is configured when we add an action, start finish process to a button. Okay, so let's go back to start process now. And we have seen the configuration. Okay, we forgot again this captcha. So GTUI8 and start process. And as you can see, we have the configuration division here now. So we just need to close this and go to my tasks. And now we have tasks with several forms. Let's start another process. Proceed. Let's add some data quickly. Supermarket. Contact. Ruiz. Date. Signature. And we have seen how this button works. Now we're gonna see how this delete IMEM works. So now I'm gonna go to start another process. And I'm just gonna fill up these fields that are mandatory. And if I go to delete IMEM, we can see that it's not here, okay? That it has deleted it. I'm going to start another process now. So we can see how this button cancel division works. So let's add some data first. So Del, Hassan, date, and here I'm gonna add cancel division. And I'm gonna click on cancel division. And now we can see how the data of the editable fields gets deleted, okay? If instead of having a button to cancel division, we had added one to cancel form, it would delete all the data of all the editable fields of all the forms instead, okay? So let's go to settings to see how we configure these buttons. So let's go to the right division. So if we go to see the configuration of these buttons we have seen, we have start process. Okay, and it says add actions, start process. And we could add another action. In this case, we added the confirmation division. Okay, but it doesn't need a special configuration. And we have delete EMIM or cancel divisions. And these are pretty straightforward as they don't need any configuration. We just need to add the action, in this case, this one, and in the case of cancel division, obviously we need the cancel division action. If we go to the link button, we can see that we just have to add, okay, we have to add the option link, and then we just have to add the URL of the page, okay, of the right page. And then choose among 4 different destinations: new window, superimpose window, same browser. We can also add a URL in different languages if we wanted to. So it's quite straightforward. Then we have the option scroll. Okay, so the action is a scroll, obviously, and then here we can choose the position. Okay, in this case we selected right and lower. Let's see more button actions. As for this one, the timer, if we go to the configuration, we can see that I have added 3 different actions: save, timer, and trigger. If we go to the timer options, we can see we can configure it as a countdown, adding the amount of time we want, or the value of a panel field. That is to say, if the value of the quantity field is 2, then the timer will immediately finish. When the maximum time is reached, in this case, 6. Let's go back to the process now. So if I add a 2 in timer value, okay, that is the quantity field, you will see that it will close the form immediately when I click on the button timer. Okay, so let's go back. We have seen all these buttons before. We just saw this one in configuration. Okay, so if we click here, it will take us to the page whose URL address added in configuration. Scroll, we saw it before as well. Timer, we just saw. And then we have these 2 that we have seen already: check mandatory fields and create report and change text. As we said before, the first one let us know the mandatory fields of the form, and the second one creates a document following a base document template we have created previously. Okay, if we go to settings, to the configuration, we can see here we have added 2 actions: change button text and automatic document. If we check the first action, we can see that once we click in the button, okay, it will change the message to this one: created report. If we go to this option, the second one, we can see all these options we explained before, okay? And this time now we have 2 base documents, the one I previously had and the one we just created. We can also choose all these options we mentioned before. Save and exit, and let's go back to my task, to a process. I have already started adding some data, so let's choose an account, a contact. Okay, and if we click on create report and change text, okay, again, as we saw before, we let us select the one we want to use, the base document. We're going to use the one we created together, base document demo. And then we can see that the text has already changed. And now we have created report. Okay? And if we go here, we should have the document. Okay? With all the information. Let's close it. We also have these 2 action buttons. One takes us to the settings, to the form, okay? And another one, general configuration, takes us to the process configuration. We also have this one, link to responsive form, that I cannot show you how it works right now, okay? Because this action is not working at the moment, but I can show you how it works the other way, okay? If it was linked to dynamic form. For that, I have to go first to general configuration, to the IM form and change it to responsive. And save and exit. So if we start the process now, I'm actually going to start a new one. So if I start a process now, I can see, okay, that now we have the responsive form instead of the other one. If I click in here, we have link to dynamic form, then it would take me to the dynamic form. Okay, and this will work the other way. Let's go back to my tasks now. And if we go to this one, task with several forms, okay, we have several buttons available here as well. Okay. In the star message, we have seen that we have several divisions, but in a task, we can have a lot of forms instead of divisions. In many of the cases, it's better, more optimal to have several forms instead of divisions. When we have several divisions, we can trigger them to go from one to another. In the case of the forms, we will use different buttons to do this, to go from one form to another. Let's go now to General Settings to see the task configuration. So if I go to Form 1, okay, and I go to the configuration of this button, I can see that the action is Open Form, and I have indicated that it will be Form 1. Okay, so when I click there, it will open Form 1. If I go to Form 2, the configuration will be the same, Open Form, but in this case, it will open 2. And obviously, the configuration for Form 3, it will be the same. So we have these options, and another option could be to create a simple selection term, okay? To use these instead of buttons. So if I go here, we can see that is a simple selection term. If we have a look at the configuration, we can see that obviously I have the markers, as you can see here, and the options I added, 1, 2, and 3. So let's go back now. And if we go to the forms here, okay, if we can, in default form, we can either choose indicate or panel, okay? So indicate will be as we were doing, and if I choose panel, I can go and find the simple selection term I just created, okay, and then it will give me the options, okay? So if I select the marker 1, okay, I want the system to open Form 1, 2, Form 2, and 3, Form 3. As I said, what I do here is to associate each option of the simple selection term to a specific form. So I associated Form 1 to the option 1, Form 2 to the option 2, and Form 3 to the option 3. So let's go back now to execution. So save and exit. And save and exit. So here we can see how they work in execution, the buttons and the simple selection. So again, if I click on Form 1, the Form 1 will appear. If I click on Form 2, it will be Form 2. And if I click on Form 3, we will also see Form 3. It's quite straightforward. In here, the simple selection term works in a bit of a different way, okay? Because if I choose, for example, Form 1, as we can see, is not directly. So I will have to save, okay? Save and exit, and then when I come back, it will open the Form 1. So save and exit. And now we can see that it has opened Form 1, okay? So the only difference is that this does it directly. In this one, once we choose the option, we have to save and exit and then come back. Okay, and then we have form 2. Other buttons, okay, that are available in the tasks and we haven't explained are these ones. So we have, for example, the notice button. These buttons allows me to add a date here and a time. I'm going to add the date today and the time. And I'm going to add 2 extra minutes. So if I go to my tasks now, it won't be here. Okay, it will come back in 2 minutes time. If I go to hidden, we can see that the task is here. So if we click on proceed now, and now it's back here. The execution control button, okay, that allows me to monitor the process from a task. So if we click on it, okay, we can see that it allows me to see all the different stages the process has gone through and also that the current flow is now in the task we are in at the moment in this one. With this, we have seen the vast majority of the action buttons. We will see the rest in the following courses. And this shall be all for this blog.